Hey there, so this is video number 2 showing you the physical therapy exercises that I've been assigned to do for my diastasis recti or abdominal separation. And so if you missed video number 1, the link should be with this video wherever you're seeing it, on Facebook, on YouTube. So go and look at that first. And the other kind of disclaimer is that I'm not a physical therapist. I'm just showing you, for informational purposes, what exercises were assigned to me. So your situation could be different from mine. My abdominal separation comes from having a large scar that prevents the muscles from moving properly. And I also had an infection that destroyed some of the tissue. So if you have separation from a C-section or just from pregnancy without a scar, your situation might be different. And if you were to go to PT, they might assign different exercises to you. So if you have this issue, it's very important to be treated for your specific situation. So I just want to say that as a caveat before showing you these exercises. But that being said, I don't think that these exercises are going to harm anybody as long as you're doing them with proper form, like I'm about to explain to you. I think anybody can do these. They just might not be the ones that would benefit you the most for your particular situation. So with all that being said, I'm going to show 4 different exercises today. So here we go. So the first one is called supine march with posterior pelvic tilt. You don't have to remember that, but you'll be lying on your back, or I'll be lying on my back as I show you, and you will too if you try it. But I'll be lying on my back and then kind of marching with my legs. So what I want to say about this before I start is that it builds on the exercise I showed in video number 1, which was isolating the transverse abdominis. So that's this muscle that goes it goes across kind of right above the pubic bone. And if you think of trying to button a tight pair of jeans, that's where you suck in. It's really cool. The muscle kind of pulls together, and so the muscle that gets separated is the rectus abdominis, which runs vertically. So then the transverse abdominis, when it contracts, actually pulls together the 2 sides of the rectus abdominis and helps it lengthen instead of separating when it contracts. So I just think that's pretty cool. So that's like the base for this move. Okay, so I'm lying down and contracting my transverse abdominis. And the other thing is to tilt the pelvis backwards. So those 2 things are related, but they're not the same. You can tilt your pelvis backwards without engaging the transverse abdominis. So think about, it's probably best if you lie down on your back and actually do this along with me so you can feel it. If you're lying down with your feet on the floor, you can just push with your feet to tilt your pelvis backwards. But when you contract in front there, again right above the pubic bone, that transverse abdominis muscle, that stabilizes your pelvis, and it gives you the stability you need to now pick one foot up off the floor and lower it back down. So keep your pelvis completely stable. Examine the relationship with the lower back and the floor and keep that the same, so your lower back is not arching away from the floor and the angle of your pelvis is not changing at all as you now march with one leg and then the other, alternating sides. And it is such a small movement, but it's actually pretty difficult to keep complete stability in the pelvis. Now, I've practiced a lot of yoga, I've taught a lot of yoga, but this is really giving me a level of consciousness where I just wasn't aware of how unstable my pelvis was and how much I wasn't engaging my muscles. So that's exercise number 1, really simple but really powerful. So exercise number 2, I would do once you've mastered number 1. This is similar but taking it up a level in difficulty. So again, I have my hands on the transverse abdominis to help me feel that isolation, tilting my pelvis backwards. It's a posterior tilt, which means the tailbone is lengthening, and it's like I'm, I want to say tucking my pelvis, but that might not be completely clear language to you either. So pulling the pubic bone up and lengthening the tailbone down toward my feet. Anyway, posterior tilt of the pelvis. And then just like the march, I pick up one foot off the floor, but this time I straighten the leg while maintaining that stability in my pelvis, while maintaining the relationship between the lower back and the floor. So, and then to do that with the other leg. So this requires strength of the abdominals. And if you're used to doing straight leg lifts like this, hopefully this will be easy. Easy in the sense that you can do it, but it still requires that same really subtle action. So if you can't straighten one leg and still keep that stability in the pelvis, then don't do this one. Go back to the bent leg one, the march. But if you're able to hold that stability in the pelvis, which actually requires a lot of strength and awareness, go back and forth, 10 repetitions between the two sides. Now exercises number 3 and 4 are in a bridge position. So number 3 is just a basic bridge. However, when I had been doing this in yoga classes, my yoga practice, the focus was always on getting taller in the bridge. This bridge is a little longer, so I walked my feet out, stepped my feet out just a bit. But the focus is really on stability and not so much on stretching. The way I always practiced bridge pose was to focus on opening my chest, and I wasn't paying as much attention to what was happening in other places in my body. So to set the foundation, I press down through my feet and press down through my arms. I have my hands kind of right next to my hips, and to me it's more comfortable to roll my arms out so the palms face up. Okay, but then, so maybe you can see how my tailbone is kind of hanging down. My abdominals and pelvic floor, pelvic muscles are not engaged right here. When I started talking about them, I engaged them. So here's slack, doesn't feel good, and I'm going to engage them now, and then press the tailbone up more. So as you're coming up and down, watch the length in your low back and keep the buttocks, keep the abdominals, pelvic floor engaged, and also work to keep the knees steady, not turning in, not turning out. Keep the legs steady as you do this. It's actually a lot of work when you do it that way. Exercise number 4 is another bridge variation. For this one, they actually recommend that you place your hands in a thumbs up position on the 2 hip bones so you can monitor whether your hips are staying level. And that you can actually see your thumbs in your line of vision when you come up into bridge. So that's the position. I still have my elbows as close into my sides as I can. And again, pressing down through the feet, pressing down through my elbows. I lift up the pelvis, engaging the buttocks, lengthening the low back, drawing the pubic bone up toward my head, and engaging the abdominal muscles, pelvic muscles. So now I need to maintain all of that and straighten one leg, and it is really not easy. Oh my gosh, it is so much work. This is one that I'm still mastering, to really keep that stability and not let one side of my pelvis drop when I straighten the leg. That's really freaking hard, and I'm not probably perfect as I do this, but it's something that I'm working on. And again, it made me realize that I probably, as strong as I am in some places, am really lacking strength. Lacking strength in other areas of my body that could help me. So that one also is 10 reps at a time, and these are exercises that I have been doing daily. and still need to do daily for the next little bit here as I get better at them. So if you have any questions about abdominal separation, again, you know, I'm not an expert on this. I just speak from my personal experience, but I'm happy to answer any questions that you have based on this video. Just send me an email. Thanks for watching.